For the next hour, deepen your shade of green. This is the Shades of Green radio show, featuring the latest in technology, money-saving ideas, legislative updates, and all things green. The Shades of Green radio show is presented by the Green Alliance. Now here's your hosts, Paul Ira and Stan Hannell.
Good morning. Like the man said, this is your host, Paul Ira. We're on Shades of Green radio show, simulcast on KDWN 720 AM and 101.5 FM here in Las Vegas. Our show is produced by Green Alliance of Nevada and sponsored by NV Energy. We have in studio Sarah Chatterjee from NV Energy. Good morning.
Good morning, Paul.
And Stan Hannell. And, of course, Annette Bubek is recording us for Facebook Live.
Good morning.
Good morning, Stan. So if our listeners have questions, please call in at 702-257-5396. That's 702-257-KDWN. Sarah Chatterjee is Director of Clean Energy Program for NV Energy, and we'll be talking about its newest incentive programs and electric utilities that promote the use of rooftop solar, battery storage, and electric vehicles for Nevada taxpayers. Sarah, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself, what makes you green, and let's get started on the Clean Energy Program.
Good morning, Paul. Yes, thank you so much. I'm very happy to be here. I've been here in Nevada for about 16 years, and I've been involved in clean energy for quite a long time. I've been with NV Energy now for probably 11 of those 16, and pretty much all of my time has been in energy efficiency, demand-side management, and renewables. So solar, integrating in with batteries, that kind of thing. So earlier this year, I took on my role as Director of Renewable Energy Programs. So I'm really excited to have launched 8 brand new programs in addition to the programs that we've already been offering for the past 15 years.
Thank you. That's great. And congratulations on that advancement.
Thank you.
I know you support rooftop solar installations through your customers. Tell us about the incentive programs available there.
Absolutely. So we have programs for all different kinds of customers. So whether you're a residential customer, a commercial customer in different kind of categories, we have cash incentives that will pay to help you adopt that solar. So depending on the size of solar system you're trying to put in. We have a ton of resources on our website, and we work very closely with all the different solar contractors. So if you are interested in going solar, we do highly encourage it. Go to our nvenergy.com website and go to the clean energy section, and there's this whole suite of tools there and resources, as well as all of the specifics on what the cash incentives are, depending on what kind of customer you are. So we also have solar for homeowner workshops, and we're planning another one coming up here in December. So we'll be posting information about that on our website as soon as it's available. So we're very excited to host customers and provide them a lot more detailed information, allow them to ask questions and help them on their path to go solar.
Thank you. And to give our customers some scale, could you give us an idea what maybe a 2,000 square foot home might look like? What kind of an array and what it might cost, just generally speaking? I won't hold you to this number, but just give them an idea.
Yeah, that's a really good question, and it does depend, right?
I knew you were going to say, well,
depend.
It depends. It always depends.
It does depend, of course, and your solar contractor can definitely help you with the details. But for example, I have about a 2,500 square foot home, and my roof faces mostly south facing, so that's where you're going to get a lot of sun exposure, so the roofing plane does make a difference. So my system is approximately a 5 kW system. So
5 kilowatt.
5 kilowatt, correct. Thank you, Stan. 5 kilowatt system, or KW, also known as KW, and we got incentives for that, and it could be somewhere in the $20,000 to $30,000 range. It really depends on
cost.
Of cost. Yes, it depends on what your purchasing model is. If you're buying cash, or if you're doing a loan or some other kind of arrangement.
And what kind of incentives would you get for that 5 kW system?
So we pay 20 cents per watt currently.
Okay.
And there's
So it's
also a
about
federal incentive as well on top of that. 30%, right? I think, yeah.
A federal tax credit?
Yes.
Cool.
That's correct. So that's on top of our cash incentive.
30% federal tax credit. So that's 30% of the cost of the system.
Installation, right?
Wow. So you could pick up as much as $10,000 there, tax credit on
Yes.
a $30,000 system, if my math serves me. Well, thank you. Thank you. That's great. And one of the other things that's really interesting to me now is as the market is moving and the world is changing and the technology is advancing, energy storage has now become kind of age and avant-garde almost. So with the advent of new battery technologies, now you can store this energy that you used to not be able to make at night. You still can't make it at night. You couldn't use it at night, but now you can use that energy at night. Tell us about the energy storage options for customers.
That's another offering that we have. So we launched in September 2 different programs for customers to incent them to install energy storage like batteries, for example.
Okay.
So,
do you have energy storage at your house?
not yet.
Not yet, but you plan to. I think it's a great idea.
Yes, it's wonderful. So we understand that our customers are looking to these new technologies and really want to be able to adopt them. So we're providing these cash incentives to help them encourage and make it a little bit easier for them to do that. So customers will be able to use that energy storage, that battery, like you said, for a number of different reasons. So whether it's to use their energy at night, or if they want to try to use it during certain times of day when their solar's not producing.
Right. Then we can figure out the best use of that when we come back to Shades of Green on KDWN. We'll be right back. And we are back to Shades of Green on KDWN 720 AM, 101.5 FM. Our show is produced by Green Alliance and sponsored by NV Energy. Speaking of NV Energy, we have Sarah Chatterjee from NV Energy on the show this morning. Good morning, Sarah.
Good morning.
We left off at the break talking about energy storage or batteries, and the intriguing topic for myself, and it can be used residentially or commercially. Even a better adaptation is a commercial use. But in a residential use, how might that be an effective utilization of solar and batteries?
Great question. So for a residential or a homeowner who's trying to install a battery, really is one of the best uses is maximizing your solar production. So if you have renewables, and our incentives do require that they are coupled with renewables like solar. So being able to use that solar at times when your solar is not producing. So like at night or when it's cloudy, for example.
Okay, so, and to be clear, you'll never end up with a zero bill because there are transportation distribution charges. But are those a set charge, or are those variable based on your usage?
You're talking about our basic service charge?
Right.
Yes, that's a set charge.
Okay, so no matter how much you use, if you had zero power coming from the grid, then that would be a set charge forever. So
That's
whatever
right.
the number is, $12 or $18, that would be your ongoing utility bill if you had a full array of solar and the right size batteries that you could use to power your home at night. So if you were really dialed in, as we say in the sailing world, you could get by with no production charges.
Yeah, it would take a lot of batteries, just to make that clear, to really soak up all of that solar energy.
Okay, good. Well, that's a great topic. So more people Nevadans are adopting electric vehicles. I see more and more of them all the time, little Volts and what have you. So let's talk about that a little bit. When people adopt them for their personal or commercial transportation needs, what role does NV Energy play in helping someone decide how to switch to driving to an electric vehicle?
So right now, we're really trying to help our customers understand the technology and provide them tools. So for example, we have an electric vehicle comparison tool on our website. If you go to nvenergy.com/EV, you can click on there and look at comparing a brand new gas vehicle to a brand new electric vehicle, and it will do comparisons like carbon footprint comparisons, financial comparisons, so you can look up the differences of upfront costs and financing models. It'll also show you where all the chargers are located in Nevada, as well as what is a good rate for you to go on. So we do have an electric vehicle time of use rate, and that's a very beneficial rate for customers who have an electric vehicle. It is very cheap. Here in Southern Nevada, it's about 5 cents or 6 cents per kilowatt hour in the nighttime. So you can save a ton of money, and that applies to your whole home, not just to the car. So your whole home would benefit from that and be able to charge your car overnight and be able to use it during the day.
So if you're washing dishes and washing clothes, the same time you're charging your car, you're getting it done for less money.
That's right.
That's a good thing. And the charging stations, I know that's a big issue for people. They don't want to get stranded anywhere. Tell us a little bit, maybe Stan, you want to hit on this a little bit too. What's the likelihood you're going to get stranded out there because there's no charging stations? Depending on where you're going, I guess, is the issue.
Right. Yeah, I think that is always the chicken and egg question. So basically, locally, no problem. We've got lots of charging stations all around the Las Vegas Valley. Also up in the urban area in Reno, Washoe County, and Carson City, there's a lot of support up there. But as you get out into the country roads and these electric vehicles are just this year starting to have ranges exceeding 200 miles or so. For older electric vehicles that only had a range of 100 miles or so, it would be hard to go from Las Vegas up to Reno, say, along Highway 95. So NV Energy has started with a Nevada Electric Highway program to facilitate that, and then hopefully with both national programs that are going on, international programs from Volkswagen Electrify America, we're going to start to see that infrastructure build out along all the major highways in the country.
Absolutely. Thank you, Stan. So, starting in 2013, we really partnered with 50 different companies across Nevada to double our electric vehicle charging station footprint. And then just last month, we expanded that by launching 5 new incentive programs, all related to electric vehicle infrastructure development. So we have programs now for helping commercial customers adopt workplace charging, multifamily charging, and fleet charging stations, as well as some, custom grant kind of programs where people can apply for some creative electric vehicle infrastructure program incentive dollars. And then Stan did speak about our partnership with the Governor's Office of Energy to really expand out the Nevada highways and build out charging infrastructure along those highways. We had originally worked on the first phase of that project all down the US 95 corridor. So now we're going into the other corridors, looking at the 80, the 50, as well as the 95 as well, and the 15. And businesses along those highway corridors who are interested can go on our website, again, nvenergy.com/EV, and we have a section in there where they can put in their interest form if they would like to be a host site. So we'll be partnering with businesses as well as the Governor's Office of Energy, really trying to expand out that electric infrastructure through the highways.
Interesting. Very good stuff.
And there are a couple different levels of charging stations. So when you buy your electric car, you plug in an electric car, you usually get a level 1 charger that allows you to plug into any 110 outlet. But that takes a while to charge up the battery. So the ones around town that we kind of were involved in growing the infrastructure were what we call AC level 2, 240 volts DC at about 40 amps or so. And those would charge up twice as fast. But now the ones that are coming out, we call level 3 chargers, are actually DC fast charge systems that are much more like a gasoline pump. They'll charge anywhere from 8 times faster than level 2 up to even more quickly than that. So the Tesla superchargers are using 120 kilowatt systems, and then we're looking at eventually with Electrify America program to go to 150 kilowatt, even 350 kilowatt as a goal, which would give you the opportunity to recharge your electric vehicle if it supported that standard at about the same rate as it would to fill a gasoline tank.
Wow.
And that's a few years out, but the groundwork's being laid by June of next year. The Electrify America program should have 400 DC fast charge sites across the country. They're partnering with Walmart and Target as to make it really convenient to get to. But most of those should be located along major U.S. highways, and so that starts to open up for any electric car manufacturer the ability to go cross country.
Yeah, we do see that as well. And so our incentives do support direct current fast chargers. And actually, as part of the Nevada Electric Highway, it is required that at least one of those stations be a DC fast charger. So we have incentives for both the level 2 and the DC fast chargers. So it's really exciting because it is that faster charging infrastructure that we're looking at. And so I'm happy to see this kind of growth in the electric vehicle charging station across our state.
So Stan will eventually get to the point you just touch the car with it and it'll be charged, right?
I wish. But there are things like wireless charging that are kind of cool. You just pull up over this disc in your parking lot, and it automatically charges your car while it's
Well,
parked.
I wondered about that. Was my first thought when I saw you had to plug it in, because I have a cradle for my phone. You just sit it in there and it charges. It was like, when are they going to come up? You just drive over it.
Yeah,
Is that available for residential use?
There are some companies out there that are doing it. Qualcomm's been a big advocate for it. As far as products, and there are a few. Bosch was doing a product for folks, but it's still early on. I haven't seen any really take off yet. The technology is still kind of evolving, but you're exactly right. It's just a scaled up version of what your wireless cell phone charger would be like. Yeah,
that's perfect, and it's probably a slower charger, but it works perfect at home. You don't have to mess with it and make sure you're parked right to get plugged in. You just pull up over it, park in the little dips in your garage, and it fits.
For overnight charging, it's perfect. And they have gotten it up to about level 2. We haven't seen DC fast charge yet. That's going to take a lot. But level 2 charging is still doable right now with today's technology.
Yeah, I can see the day when grocery stores will have a line of them. You pull up, get your groceries, come out, you're charged up again. And so one of the issues is driving around town. Let's talk about that when we come back to Shades of Green on KDWN. We'll be right back. And we are back to Shades of Green on KDWN 720 AM, 101.5 FM. We're sponsored by NV Energy and produced by Green Alliance. Everybody out there should become a member of Green Alliance. It's a great organization, isn't it, Annette?
It is.
Stan, tell us some of the benefits of being a member of Green Alliance.
Oh, fantastic. You get these mixers. It's ongoing education, participation, hands-on learning, some great mixers with some great food and great people and good events, as well as our Green Fest event every year. That's we celebrate at downtown Summerlin. We get over 120 booths or so, and thousands of people turn out. So we look forward to that every year around Earth Day.
Great. Thank you, Stan. We were talking about driving electric vehicles, and I wanted to point out, we talk a lot about highway driving, and you're not going to get stranded out on the highway because we have charging stations and fast chargers and what have you. But local driving, so if you're using your electric vehicle for commuting and what have you, how assured are you that you can always find a place to charge your car?
Well, you can always plug in overnight at home out of your garage, and most of those are level 2, although if people have a Tesla, they can get a little bit higher power charging station. And then what NV Energy has done during, it was a shared investment program that went on about 4 or 5 years ago, 5 years ago, I guess. And they partnered with a lot of our resorts, a lot of the different government centers, and basically installed level 2 charging stations all at strategic areas around town. And so you can pretty much find by going to an app like plugshare.com or chargepoint.com where those stations are at. And also a lot of the cars, the plug-in electric cars, also have charging station apps built into their dashboard, so they will point you to the nearest charging station that's a network version. So there are some that are tied to a network like the internet, and those are, you can even tell if they're being used at the time when you're coming up on them. The ones that are non-network, though, are usually found through a crowdsourced app like PlugShare, where people that have been at those sites report on them and talk about the status of them.
So there's a very good network, almost a social network out there of where to get your car charged. So I know that if you're charging at home, you should be able to commute back and forth with no problem. But if you're in sales like myself and you drive around the city all day long, it could become an issue. So good to know that you can always find a place to charge up. Recently, NV Energy sponsored a couple of electric car guest drive events. Tell us about that.
Yeah, we were really excited. We had one up in Reno on the 20th, and then we had one down here in Las Vegas on the 27th. So it was a really fun event where people got the chance to come to our buildings and drive up to 8 or 9 different models of electric vehicles. So it was a really great time because you had an expert in the car with you, being able to explain the vehicle. You got to really feel what it was like to get behind the wheel and drive around the area. And we had all of our offerings and incentive programs laid out so we could explain all of that information, all the different tools and resources. So really fun. We had probably over 200, close to 300 drivers with both events combined, and maybe a little bit less than double of that in terms of people just showing up, interested, there to learn, support, ride as a passenger in the car. So it was a really great event, and we really love the turnout. So we'll be looking at what we can do to bring these events back more often, maybe spring and fall, give people a chance to really get behind the wheel and see a whole suite of different models and makes all in one spot.
That's great. And it is a relatively new technology, so it's all about the education and people getting out there and seeing what's available and getting the touch and feel of what it's like to drive an electric vehicle. It is different. If you're a gearhead like myself and you're used to big engines and gassy cars, an electric vehicle is a completely different experience. Coming up, you've got a Southern Nevada Fleet Association. Stan, you want to hit on that a little bit?
Sure, yeah. That group has been around for over 20 years. They started in the 1990s. So what's nice about the Las Vegas Valley, even though people think we're casinos and everything, we really have a sustainable community that's been doing this for a lot of years. Dan Hyde was the City of Las Vegas fleet manager back in the mid-20s, and he was the one that really pushed the idea of talking with the taxi drivers, the limousine driver companies, the school district, to see if we could basically help increase or improve the quality of the air locally. So that group formed. They got support from the Department of Energy's Clean Cities program, and so they basically looked at all different kinds of alternative fuels. So at that time, some of the taxi drivers went to using propane instead of gasoline in their fleets. The Clark County School District switched to biodiesel for some of their school buses, so the kids would be breathing more French fry smells instead of diesel fumes. So, so that was kind of neat, and they kept that going for a while. They've also there was Thomas Petroleum was enabling the use of biodiesel around town, and then of course also electric cars. Compressed natural gas was another one that they pursued as well. And there was actually the Thomasons, Leo and Anna Lloyd, created a school called the Natural Gas Vehicle Institute and supported the fleet as well to promote the use of natural gas in vehicles. So you see that in a lot of the RTC buses use those as well. So it's really been an active organization for 20 years now. And Marie Steele is now the president of the group. They meet about every 2 months and usually put on a golf charity event. But it's a great time for all the fleets to gather, owners together, and share information and learn how to improve not only the fuel side of it, but also their maintenance practices and that sort of thing. So we have fleets at all the government levels. The dealerships have fleets as well. So there's another meeting coming up on of the group on November 8th. It's going to be from 10:30 to 1 p.m. at the Staybridge Suites at 5735 Dean Martin Drive in Las Vegas. And to register for that event, it's $10. That includes lunch. It'll be go to their website at snfa.org, Southern Nevada Fleet Association.org, so snfa.org. And it's a good event. You'll meet a lot of folks. And this particular meeting is going to be about electrifying fleets. And Sarah will be a speaker.
That's right. So I'll be there at this meeting, and I'll be talking about our programs and the different incentives that we have offered to the public and to fleet associations. So I'll be able to go into a little bit more detail as to what the specific incentive levels are and how some of these fleet owners can look at maybe applying for a custom grant or converting their fleets with the help of our charging station incentives. So I'll be happy to be there and provide much more detail on our programs and incentives.
You've talked about custom grants a couple of times. Can you tell us what a custom grant might look like?
So it could be anything from looking at converting maybe a medium or heavy fleet. So trying to put in, maybe chargers that might require a little bit more infrastructure work, a little bit more wire pulling, a little bit more trenching. So a bigger kind of project that
a little less prescriptive and more.
That's right.
Out of the box thinking there. That's good. That's great. We're going to talk about some other events and happenings coming up when we come back to Shades of Green right after this break. We'll be right back. to Shades of Green on KDWN 720 AM, 101.5 FM here in the Valley of Sun and Sin, Las Vegas. Our guest today is Sarah Chatterjee. We're talking power shift programs, NV Energy's incentive programs for solar and electric vehicles. Where can people find more information on the programs you have available?
So customers can go to nvenergy.com, and they can go either under Clean Energy or Save Energy. So Clean Energy will have all of our solar, energy storage or battery, as well as electric vehicle incentives. And then under Save Energy, they'll be able to see different kinds of energy efficiency kinds of programs and how they can save energy.
Great. And when we went to break, we were talking about the Southern Nevada Fleet Association. Do you have anything more on that, Stan?
Yeah, I know that they're a great group for the local area here, and basically they've been active for over 20 years. So it's neat to see that they're on the leading edge of trying to implement cleaner vehicles, but looking at all different types of fuel types as well as electric. But definitely electric vehicles are part of that.
Proof that we live in a very sustainable state.
And
Yes,
I'd like
we
to
do.
add that it's now being led by Marie Still, who is a former Green Alliance board member, and we absolutely love her. That organization's going to do nothing but great things with her leadership.
She works very hard in this industry.
She sure does.
Sure does. So tell us a little bit about the Power Shift program, Sarah.
So with PowerShift, there's a whole suite of program offerings for both residential and commercial customers. Two of my favorites are the home energy assessment. So there's two ways you can go about the home energy assessment. So we have an online tool that will actually do that home energy assessment online for you and provide recommendations, so you can get to that on our website. But we also have a program where we'll send out an energy advisor to your home. They'll walk through your home with you. They'll go through looking at your different appliances, your lighting, your windows, your doors, and make recommendations for your specific home and how you can save energy. And then you usually get some kind of giveaway, maybe an LED light bulb or something like that. Mm-hmm. The second program that I really like is our smart thermostat program. So that's a $300 value. We'll go out and we will install a smart thermostat for you, and you'll be able to control that with a smartphone app, either iPhone or Android app. So you'll be able to program your thermostat, really learn how to save energy with that technology as well.
I think it's a great program. I've had it done at two of my houses. I'm on to my third thermostat, and it makes you feel smarter too. So it's not only a smart thermostat, but you become a smart user, and it teaches you more about what you're doing with your house. And then if you go that next step and go onto your website and look at your utility bills and see when you're using power and how you're using power, it helps you reduce your costs and use your power more wisely, and maybe even reduce your carbon footprint a little bit. So we need to go on and talk about some announcements and upcoming events. Stan, kick us off here. The Nevada, don't you have an electric vehicle program coming up?
We're just doing ongoing things. There's a Las Vegas Electric Vehicle Association that meets on the second Saturday of every month. And also, if people own Teslas, there's a Las Vegas Tesla owners group that meets down at the Lazy Dog restaurant, usually second or Saturday or Sunday of the month. And they get together for brunch. That's also the site of about 8 to 10 supercharger stations. So it's right on Las Vegas Boulevard. And if you're interested in that, contact either organization and learn more about electric cars.
And that group has grown a lot over the years, hasn't it,
Yes,
Stan?
amazingly. Yeah, they started with 3 people about maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and now there's at least 400 people on the mailing list, over 200 active owners, and I think more than that every day. So it's amazing. Yeah.
You know, we talk about the procession that we do every year for Greenfest, too, and that procession is actually dedicated, if you remember, to Don Carrier.
Don Carrier, yes.
Who is the founder.
Yeah, Don owned the very first signature version of the Model S that I probably had the first one in the Valley over, probably about 4 or 5 years ago. Unfortunately, he passed away about 3 years, but he was one of these folks that was, if you ever needed somebody to help or volunteer to present electric cars, he was always there. So
he was right there.
We appreciated Don, yes.
Well, and he and Matt Watson and some of the originals, Rufus, were always there whenever we had an event with their cars and their dogs,
right?
If you remember. And I'll never forget when Don said, "My vision is to have some kind of parade of nothing but electric vehicles, so that it could show the community on not only are they energy efficient and clean energy source of the solution on the vehicle side, but how beautiful they are and how quiet they are.
Right.
And people just can't realize that you can actually go and shift to electric vehicles and still drive a really good-looking car.
Yeah, and a fast, high-performance car.
fast,
too.
yeah.
That's amazing. So it's really changed the name of the game. It's been fun.
I have heard recommendations that you need to put a playing card in your spokes on an electric vehicle so people can hear you.
Hear you coming around the corner in the shopping
Exactly.
lots.
So
Or
speaking
video
of
game noises.
speaking of events, Annette, tell us a little bit about the event this last weekend, the Waterfest event.
Sure, absolutely. So the Green Alliance partnered with the Clark County Water Reclamation District and the very first Water Fest, which kind of has evolved from their open house that they hold every year, which provides tours of the facility, which all of us have now done the tour, and it's pretty darn interesting watching what they do with everything that goes down the drain, everything. And
Sinks,
so,
toilets, everything, yeah.
sinks, toilets, anything that goes down. So it was really fun. We had about 28 exhibitors that had some type of educational piece to what happens with water, not just down the drain, but also stormwater. What are all the different steps that take place while they are purifying the water and getting it clean so that it can return it back in to Lake Mead.
Yeah.
And it was, we had about 500 people actually attend, which was phenomenal. We interacted with at least 200. But the kids and families, they were all learning. And I loved some of the responses as they came back, because I said, what's your favorite thing? What did you see that was so educational? It's the wipes. They had no idea how many wipes are going down the drain and how it just accumulates into piles.
We need to
and
talk
piles.
about that a little bit. We
Yes,
did the
let's
VIP
do.
tour last week, and they talked about the wipes and how they gather together, and they talk about
clump.
how you can get a gathering of these wipes that they say they're flushable. No wipes are flushable. No wipes are flushable. And they talked about you can get one of these balls of wipes,
Right.
and they'll go into a pump and shut a pump down because they're the size of a basketball. Well, they actually keep track of how big these balls of wipes get, and there was one in England that was the size of a bus. So they have much larger sewage drains, sewage systems, and these wipes would gather together and end up being the size of a bus. Now, that is a horrible thing to get into your system and a terrible thing to work with, and it does all these effects on the pumps and all the systems. So the rule is there's only 3 P's that go down the toilet.
Exactly.
TP, pee, and poo. Nothing else. No dental floss, no wipes, no...
Paper.
Personal hygiene.
Bill Cosby talked about flushing an overcoat. Don't flush overcoats.
No
Don't put anything, no personal hygiene. Nothing
No pharmaceutical.
goes down
That's
there.
another big one.
Don't dump your drugs down the drain.
Yeah, that's another issue.
They do a
yeah.
collection at Metro police departments where you can actually walk in with your bag of your unused
Medication.
medication, and
Medication.
dispose of it, and then they properly dispose of it. Which
Yes,
is,
Without
because
contaminating the water.
because we have return credits at CCWRD, we take out more water than we're allowed, but we're allowed to do that because we have return credits,
You
and we
recycle.
clean that water and recycle it back to the lake.
Yeah,
When you recycle that water back to the lake, it carries all those medicines with you. So with the water, so it ends up back in our drinking water when it recycles back through. So we thank everyone for listening this week. It's been great. We'll be back on next week, Shades of Green on KDWN. Keep it green out there. We'll see you next week.